Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is HD StarCraft, and how are you guys all doing today? It is almost the weekend, and I can't tell you guys how excited I am for that because every weekend is amazing. Actually, the worst day of the week for me is a Monday. I don't know about you guys, but Monday is terrible for me. So yeah, hopefully you guys all have a great weekend, and hopefully I can kickstart things off for you guys the right way because I've got another Heart of the Swarm broadcast here. And up in the top left-hand corner, allow me to introduce the red Protoss player. His name is Wilko. And very excited because I haven't had an opportunity to cast Wilko yet. I know he's been making some movement here in the Heart of the Swarm scene, so this should be pretty exciting. And down in the bottom right-hand corner, we have somebody that I haven't seen in a while. His name is Morrow, and He's been out of my YouTube channel for some time. I haven't had an opportunity to cast Morrow, but last I saw him, I believe he was a Zerg player. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he did the kind of race switching between Terran and Zerg, and I think what he did was he would play Zerg for all of his matchups except for one, and that was against Zerg. Against Zerg, he would actually play Terran. So he originally started as a full-on Terran player, and then he just kind of decided to switch around a little bit. And I guess now in Heart of the Swarm, given that Terrans now have Widow Mines, he's just going to go ahead and stick with Terran, and you can't blame him for that. I'm not trying to insinuate anything. I'm not saying that the Widow Mine is, oh my god, OP. It has been nerfed, it has been changed, and I typically refrain from making any balance calls in a beta game because I know that things are going to change. So I'm not going to really speak my mind on that matter, but I will say that Morrow is playing Terran here, and he's going to try to make use, I would assume, of some Widow Mines. But, you know, interestingly here, he is not going to go for a refinery, so maybe he's going to go one Barracks Gases Expand instead. And I mean, this is a big map. It's a 1 versus 1 map. It's still very big though, considering how many expansions you have in the middle. So one Barracks Gases Expand is still a good strategy, but I think that going for Widow Mines is actually better because you can harass the early Protoss with the early Widow Mines. You can do a lot of damage, and you can actually force them to rush robotics for observers, which, you know, most Protoss already do, but you also force Protoss, like what Whiter has been doing, get a forge and get a photon cannon at the front door. And that's not what a Protoss player wants. They never really want to get a forge in any matchup, really. In Zerg you have to because of Zerglings and that early aggression that can be done to you. But against Terran, usually, before, in the history of StarCraft 2, Terrans have never really had the initiative against Protoss. But anyways, Morrow is going to forfeit that, and we do have the Mothership Core coming out. So Moko 1 is on the field, reporting for duty. And I think Wilko is probably going to go with an expansion pretty soon here. There we go. So 26 supply expand. He actually got the pylon, the third pylon, before the Nexus. Interesting. So he's got 2 pylons here, and I'm trying to figure out where that last pylon is. Okay, so it's at the ramp. Usually most Protoss get 2 pylons and then block themselves and get the Nexus. So I'm not too sure why he did that. Maybe it's a new way to get around getting the Mothership a little bit earlier. I'm not too sure. I think that's what it is. The Mothership Core requires 2 supply now, so I think that's why he gets a 3rd pylon. Moko, you're so expensive. And looks like they're going to start to work down the rocks here. Both rocks getting worked down at the same time. I like that. I like how Wilko is breaking down the collapsible rock tower before, you know, he really takes this one down, just to make sure that this is full-on safe. And then he can start to work this one down later, because if you've got the collapsible rock tower already down protecting your base, there's really no need to destroy the middle rocks right away. And it looks like the SCV has made its way inside the base. It will see 3 gateways total, but that doesn't really say much. Most Protoss want to get 3 gates on the ground at the very least. The only thing you can really preclude from that, the only thing you can really take away from that scout is that the Protoss probably isn't going for a very quick Stargate. And interesting here, Wilko is going to drop that Nexus down very early on. Wow. Usually you don't see Protoss get the 3rd Nexus that quickly. I thought he was just going to work down the rocks just to start to lay down the foundation, you know, just to get the the natural defenses ready, you know, alter the environment, terraform it, if you will, to help protect his base, but he actually dropped the Nexus down very quickly. And that's unusual. We'll see what Morrow does. I don't think he knows about that expansion yet, but he does have 2 factories back at home, and this is what I expected. You know, he's not going to go for the early quick Widow Mine harass, but he is going to eventually get up to factories after the command center expand, and now he's got siege tanks and Widow Mines coming out. So what we have here is the blue Terran player Morrow going for more of a tech route, going to have siege tanks, gonna have Widow Mines, probably gonna be the one who's gonna do the first attack, and Wilko is just kind of sitting back with not much of an army at all. He's just going to go for the quick 3rd expansion, and the rocks between the 2 bases have been destroyed. So terraforming complete, and now we can start to land down some colonial explorers and start to populate this area. So interesting. Wilko really not much of an army at all, but you know what, he's got 3 warp gates at home, so he's not completely bare naked, and he's got a robotics facility, and he's starting to make his army units now. I really think, though, that if Morrow could make an attack, he might have a window from now until maybe the next minute, but, you know, that's the thing about Terran Mech. It's not the most mobile. It's very hard to be aggressive with it. Always has been since, you know, Brood War. And so Wilko here, with the much more agile Stalkers, is going to move out and gonna try to make something happen. I love the Observer. He will pick off the Widow Mines, although 1 detonates and the Widow Mines are saved. Good call right there from Morrow. They're not cheap, you know. Oh, they are cheap, but they still cost, and you don't really want to lose them, so he keeps them behind, and he can always repair them if he wants to as well. 1 Hellion makes its way through, unable to get past. It might have had more luck. Had 2 gone by instead of 1. But instead only 1 makes it in, and that forces Wilko to, excuse me, Morrow to drop a comsat. And now he sees, aha, hey, you've got a 3rd Nexus very quickly there, buddy. Slow down, you know. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and drop a CC of my own and try to play a little catch up here, but, you know, his realization is a bit late. Thankfully for him, at the very least, Widow Mines can detect invisible units when they're burrowed, and if he can get this Widow Mine underneath that Observer, no, not going to happen. Wilko pulls it away. At least for now. Terran beginning to terraform their area as well, destroying the rocks here, and the avalanche occurs. Morrow with a lot of tanks. And, you know, this is one of the hardest builds, I think, to counter right now in Heart of the Swarm is a Terran full-on mech against Protoss. You've got Widow Mines, you've got Battle Hellions, you've got Siege Tanks, and you can even incorporate Thors. Hold that thought. We do have a War Prism coming in here. There is an Immortal and 2 Zealots, but there's no way that War Prism is getting by the turret and the 2 mines. And it's a good thing Wilko didn't try to press his luck there. And it looks like he is going to get out of there just without losing any units, so lucky for him. That could have been disastrous. But as I was saying before, it's actually really hard to stop this composition now, because eventually the Terran can transform these into Hellbats once they upgrade at the armory. And, you know, when that happens, Protoss, you can go charge out Archon, but it's not wildly effective, because charge lots kind of melt to Hellbats in a very bad way, and Archons, you know, they're good, but a lot of siege tanks and a lot of mines and a lot of Hellbats. You can kind of imagine how that goes. So, you know, Protoss, I think, are kind of struggling right now to figure out what the correct way to deal with that is. I have been seeing a lot of charge lot Immortal, but that also can be kind of hard to pull off, because what happens if the Terran decides to, you know, get a starport for Banshee? And I don't know, we'll see, man. This is going to be interesting. How will Wilko defeat the Terran player, who is now turtling pretty hard on 3 bases? I mean, he's got his supply depot wall, his siege tanks, his Widow Mines, missile turrets at the edge of the map as well. This is an impregnable fortress, and you know, Wilko's got double War Prism here. Each one loaded up with 1 Immortal and 2 Zealots. No, excuse me. This one loaded up with 4 Zealots. And oh, Wilko is going to see that. He is going to see the incoming medevac, and I'm not sure if the Terran saw the incoming War Prism, but he's got missile turrets. And looks like those 4 Zealots are going to get out before... Oh, the War Prism dies. So the Zealots won't get any reinforcements, nor will they get any backup. Oh, excuse me, nor will they be able to get out. And the Zealot's able to do a little bit, but I don't know how much in total. Here comes another Warp Prism, though. And Wilko comes in with an Immortal and a Zealot. This is so weird. I don't know how much damage will he be able to get done total. Not too bad, actually. 13 SCVs killed already. And the Widow Mines, that you don't want to detonate mines against the units here because they might splash against the SCVs. But Morrow wisely pulls out at the very last second. It looks like, meanwhile, the medevac might have actually gone down. No, it's inside the main base. And the medevac gets away, unloading a couple of Blue Flame Hellions. And returning the favor here, but not really as badly as you would think, although there's still 2 Hellions inside the natural. And very nice. It looks like it was a double-pronged medevac harass. And overall, able to equalize just a bit. And if we take a look at the top right-hand corner of the game screen here, we can see that Morrow is holding a huge supply lead. 154 to 131, but look at the Protoss bank. That means he's got a lot of supply tied up in money right now. Virtual resources cannot be... he's going to try to get them, I guess, on the ground pretty soon here, but he might be waiting for Warp Gate cooldowns, and that looks like the case. He needs to actually drop more Warp Gates if that's the situation here. We have more Warp Prisms coming in here, so so far in this game really seems like both sides just trying to get in, trying to puncture each other's defensive grids with drop play, and so far they've been doing a pretty decent job at it. Wilko's going to come in with another double Zealot Immortal attack here. And we'll see how effective this is going to be. And you guys might be wondering, why is Wilko bringing in the Immortal? And that's the reason for that is because so he can kill off the tanks very quickly. And he can take out Widow Mines pretty easily with the Immortal as well. Although I guess Widow Mines are pretty good against Immortals at the same time. And wow, that Warp Prism got out of there with 4 HP. No doubt that was helped along by the Warp Prism speed. They are very fast right now. And with Warp Prism speed, they can actually bypass. Oh, careful! Oh, loses the cargo and the Warp Prism inside. And that's pretty deadly. That sucks. That's painful right there for the Protoss player. But I was gonna say with Warp Prism speed, they might be able to fly by the missile turrets, but you're not gonna be able to fly fast enough to get by a Widow Mine. It's like the speed cameras you see on the road now. They did this kind of test that you can drive fast enough to try to outfull a speed camera, and I think they figured out that you need to go like, I don't know, like 240 miles an hour, which for everyone outside of the United States, that's like 400 kilometers an hour or something ridiculous like that. So the Warp Prism needs way more than just a gravitic booster to get by a Widow Mine, man. It needs hyperdrive. And I don't think as of right now it's gonna get an upgrade like that. Maybe in Legacy of the Void. But look at this interesting composition from Wilko. Stalker, Archon. And he's going for a 5th base right now. Wow, he is actually going to have a ton of bases. And this is a good army, I think, to deal with the siege tanks. But once a lot of Widow Mines come into play and more siege tanks, I think, I don't know, we'll have to see. The nice thing about this composition is almost all of the units are ranged. You don't see a lot of Zealots at all, so they don't get too close to the Widow Mines. They keep their distance. And that might be kind of handy. It looks like one of the Warp Prisms just died there. It went into a triad of anti-air defense, so another lost unit there for Wilko, along with the cargo. And I don't know, at this point, you know, there's Vikings patrolling the airspace of the Terran player. And so Morrow's keeping his, he's keeping a lot of anti-air defense around the map. But we do have movement of troops here. It looks like a lot of movement. And some Hellions just trying to hold on to that Xel'Naga tower, and thankfully they do have a lot of siege tank support, and I love the ghosts being added in. Wow, that's interesting. Usually, when you see a Terran player go mech, I mean, how often do you see them incorporate ghosts into their composition? It's actually pretty hard to do because it's a bio-based unit, so you got to get the racks on the tech labs, and that means you either sacrifice tank production or you got to spend some money to build new tech labs. And you know, I like the ghosts because at this situation, the Ghost will be able to launch a ton of EMPs over the clumped up Protoss ball. I mean, in general, EMP is just a very, very good ability against Protoss. So this is going to help keep that army, which is looking huge right now, it's going to help keep that army under control. And we also have the Moko flying overhead as well, so that's going to allow this Protoss army to get out if things start to get a little hairy. And look at this just massive ball of Protoss units, literally made of mostly balls of Archons at 2-2 upgrades. Let's check the tanks here at 2-3. So Morrow has a slight advantage, but 3-3 is about to finish. And you know what? He's going to need to transform these Hellions into Hellbats for sure. If he wants a chance at holding off this army. We do have a medevac coming in here with 1 Hellion. And it might be able to get in and do some damage. At the same time, we've also got a War Prism back here as well. Both players here are trying to expand to their 4th and 5th bases respectfully. Actually, it looks like, you know, Wilko's going for a 6th base, so this is about to get pretty out of hand. That Hellion's back there waiting for orders. Waiting for orders, sir. Do you want me to become a Hellbat? Do you want me to roast up some probes in car mode? Or do you want me to just stay here and facepalm myself? Smoking my cigarette. It looks like he's just waiting all day and he's never going to get the orders, and it looks like now his evac is gone. So, goodbye, Hellion. And, yeah, that Hellion's going to die. Meanwhile, yonder across the middle of the map, look at the Protoss army, backed up by the Moko, ready for a recall at any point in time. I really think if you've got a Mothership Core ready for recall, as a Protoss player, just, you know, be aggressive, make an attack, because what's the worst that can happen? You lose some of your initial forces, you know, your first wave, but overall, it's not that bad because you can get out of there with a huge recall. And did Morrow just kill off a bunch of his Hellions? I believe he just freed up some of his supply because I see some Terran debris here, or I did see some Terran debris, and I think he cleared up some of his supplies so he can make more Hellions. Interesting. Not too sure why that would be the case. You know, overall, you don't really want Hellions against this army because these are all fire-resistant units, okay? None of these units are considered light, so the Hellion does not get that bonus damage. I think in general, you just want probably more tanks and ghosts. The more you can get, the better. And of course, the tanks are definitely going to want to be in siege mode. Oh boy, here we go, ladies and gentlemen, the big engagement we've been waiting for. Morrow is set up ready for EMP, but the Protoss army actually spread out, brought some Blinkstalkers across the cliff's edge here, and is inside the Terran 3rd base. Meanwhile, Battle Hellion's leading the charge here for the tanks, and it does look like Wilko's gonna have to pull away. Wow, what a brilliant maneuver by Wilko. Just utilizing the map to his advantage, bringing the Stalkers across this cliff's edge, and now he's inside the natural. A lot of Stalkers, in fact, just punishing the Terran for going for an army that does not have mobility. And now Wilko's going to look to do as much damage as possible. Good grief. He has hit the mother load, but all these buildings have so much health. Is he going to actually be able to do any real damage here? I don't know. We'll see. It looks like the entire Terran army has been called back home to defend against the Protoss invasion. And so far, the Stalkers haven't really done, like, I don't know if they've done serious damage yet. Don't forget the Terran has a ton of orbitals, so he can lose 1 or 2 here, and he'll be all right. And it looks like he should be able to clean up here in the main base. Meanwhile, in the middle of the map, huge move out of troops here as the Archons lead the way. Are the tanks going to be enough to deal with the Immortals, though, as the Vikings land down to provide additional fodder for the siege tanks so that they don't get hit by the Immortals? And it looks like Morrow is going to make a hold here. Brilliant hold with his troops in the middle of the map. And that's just one of those situations where a lot of Terran players would falter. You know, you see a huge army invading your main base and you think immediately to yourself, oh god, I've got to bring everything back to defend. But if you do that, a smarter player, a smarter opponent will then attack one of your extremity bases, one of your perimeter expansions. And what Morrow did there was just send back just enough, and it really was only 3 tanks and a couple of backup units, and he left the majority of his army back in the middle of the map, and that allowed him to defend against that huge attack by Wilko. And Wilko, I think, came out on the worser end of that, but we'll have to see. It's still, you know, the one thing that he's got going for him is he's mining the 2 gases here of Wilko, Morrow, excuse me. And he's actually permanently stealing the gas because this expansion should be the Terran players. And that's a big problem because right now we can see Wilko is going with primarily Archons. And if you're going with a huge Archon mix, you need all the gas you can get. And obviously the Terrans go in mech, and so mech requires a lot of gas as well. And you know, overall, stealing the Terran players' gas, that's not cool. And so Morrow's going to come in here and try to deal with that, but his tank got a little bit too close. And a lot of siege tanks up here on the cliff and on the south side. Those Archons, gotta be careful, man. I don't know about Wilko going through the middle here. He's running the gauntlet, and the siege tank's just having a heyday, but it looks like Wilko split his army up and is coming around the backside as well. Morrow might not have enough to deal with this. I don't know. I don't think so. Terran units are now just beginning to fall apart, and we have a recycling junk heap here. For future Terran players, you can salvage an entire Terran army out of the leftover debris right there. And in the meantime, it looks like the attack over here was unsuccessful. And now the Terran production facilities are under attack. Oh no, Morrow's going to lose a couple of reinforcement tanks as well. And now things are starting to look pretty good for Wilko. Although Battle Hellions are here. Excuse me, Hellbats are here. They're getting serious. Will there be enough Hellbats and Siege Tanks to deal with this many Archons? Oh, nice targeting fire right there. He picked off the 2 Archons that were actually in the red. And it looks like now Wilko is going to pull back. He might lose another Archon. He will. And he's going to lose 4 in total. So the attack into Terran territory there gives me reminders of the Scorched Earth policy back in World War II, man. If you extend too far, better be careful, man. And I think Wilko bit off a bit more than he could chew. Ended up losing a bunch of expensive units, but he's got that extra base mining gas. And when I see that, I think, well, he's going to be able to make blue balls of Archons all day, man. He will not have a shortage of Vespene. I don't know, man. This is very close, I think. And now, will Morrow actually be able to hold here? I think he will. He's got more than enough tanks, has Ghost backup, has Widow Mines in the front of the tanks. Classic Terran layout there, just like in Brood War. Spider Mines in front of the tanks. And Wilko doesn't really have an observer with his army right now. In fact, it looks like all of his observers went down. So if that's the case, he actually needs to chrono out some new observers right now. And he's got one queued up after this Immortal. I would imagine he's got 2 queued up. There we go. And you know, as Protoss, when you're fighting against mines, you cannot move out. You can't move out without observer support. Otherwise, you're just completely in the dark. And did these 3 Stalkers actually just kill off that many SCVs? It looks like 5 total. Not bad. Good targeting fire from the Protoss. And now that there's a planetary fortress, double planetary fortress here, I think that's a pretty good Terran zone. Morrow will need to bring out some more tanks here. Because, oh my goodness, this is almost robbery. This is robbery. This is Grand Theft Vespene. And Wilko has stolen about 2,000 canisters worth of Vespene, if you will. And that's a lot, man. So Wilko really getting away with Grand Theft here. And Morrow will need to kill that. He needs to bring more tank support. And I'm surprised because I think if this game ends up going into the uber late game, not having that extra base up there is going to hurt him a lot. And now it looks like Wilko's moving in, but his Archons are all clumped up into this very narrow hallway. And with that much tanks there, very poor decision, I think, from Wilko. And realizing the folly there, decides to pull back. And he will get most of his units out of the way, but he did take some serious damage. One thing that I will note here is with the amount of orbitals here that Morrow's got, just the raw economic firepower, if you will, from the Blue Terran player. He doesn't need that many SCVs. He can just mule for days. But he will need this extra base up here. I really want to stress to you guys right now that this base is just still mining, still stealing gas. Wilko should actually send more probes up there because there still isn't much of a Terran threat, although here we go. Morrow is now coming in with more siege tanks, and he should be able to shut that down pretty soon here. But, you know, like I said before, really stealing a lot of Vespene, stealing about 500 minerals apiece from each one of these mineral blocks. And, you know, that's all gonna hurt. So Wilko getting away with that, but one thing I will note here is Wilko's army supply not doing too well. 168 under 198. He'll need to get some more money. He doesn't have the best bank to work with, and that just means that he should have lost a lot more units this game in resources. But when I'm looking at the units resources lost tab, he's actually lost less than the Terran player. So I'm not too sure how that adds up. But as of right now, not doing too well is Wilko, and I'm not too sure why that's the case. But he should have been able to bank a lot more given this extra base up here. But now the base has gone down, and Morrow can finally claim back what is rightfully his. And just look at the Terran army in the middle of the map. Completely dominant force here, controlling all ins and outs, controlling the left, the right, the north, the south. And any Protoss presence that wants to come through here will meet this unstoppable wall. And I'm looking at the Protoss army. It's not quite the unstoppable force. So I guess I meant to say unmovable wall. And the Protoss army, not really the unstoppable force. So here we go, man. This army is going to come in, taking quite a few hits on the Widow Mines. And now the rest of the Protoss army going to go fight. I don't know about this. So there's so many Hellbats in the siege tanks. And that went down very quickly. But at the very least, Wilko got out of that one CC kill. Although, I think overall, losing this many forces just to kill off a command center, I don't know if that is worth it at all. When you're fighting against late game Terran, when they have this many orbitals, this many CCs, what you really want to go for are the factories. And he's not going for the factories, he's going for the orbitals. But we do have another attack up here. In the meantime, Wilko actually ends up killing off the expansion. Or I believe there was an expansion coming up and Wilko was able to deny it. But now this army is kind of cornered in and there's really nowhere to run. You're left with going through the left door or the right door. The left door, a huge Terran army. The right door, the planetary fortress. So I think Wilko is going to try to eke through here. Oh, he escapes the EMP with a very nice blink. And now Wilko is just playing guerrilla warfare. He's trying to use the mobility of his army to quickly maneuver his way around the less agile mech of Morrow, and he's actually not doing too shabby of a job, still focusing down SCVs, has killed off 56 already, and now has put the Terran player under 25 workers. Hey, not bad at all from Morrow, from Wilko. And now Wilko coming in with a bunch of charge lots, but there are Battle Hellions here, and those are going to get quickly melted away. No chance at all. Meanwhile, Stalker's still dodging EMPs here, and I really don't know about using an EMP shockwave there. I think it's better just to save the energy for the big battle, because he had more than enough forces to kill off the Stalkers, and oh, scorched earth policy running right through the Widow Mines. But you know what? That was some very good guerrilla warfare by Wilko, and I think he needed to. He was down almost, and you just look at the supply tabs, you look at the army, and actually I'm looking at the supply tabs on the army right now, and he's still woefully down, and I just don't understand. I mean, he killed off so many workers, but then again, you have to remember that Morrow had a massive bank, and he did not lose any of his production facilities. And so almost in a way, what Morrow has done here is said, okay, you kill off my SCVs, I might be very, very low in workers, but you freed up my supply for more army, and I can just rely on mules. But Wilko now is going to come and try to shut down that mulage. And will he have enough to actually take it down? 5 Stalkers here just staying barely out of range of the planetary fortress, and a lot of more workers going down there. Now down up to 65, 29 workers total. I'm surprised that that Wilko didn't focus on the Widow Mines, or on the mules, excuse me. Here we have more Widow Mines going off here, just detonating all over the place, and those Immortals and Stalkers just walking through a disastrous minefield. Not much left of that Protoss army, and what is he going for here? Why kill off bare refineries and whatnot? He needs to hit the factories or just wipe out all the SCVs of the Terran player. I don't know, man. This is a very interesting game, and Wilko still not, I don't think he's totally out of it, but he is losing considerably right now. The one thing he's got going for him, is he's got double the workers of the Terran player. But you look at the map, and Wilko really doesn't have, well, he's actually still got this expansion with a lot of money left over. So he's got about 2 bases right now that he can fully mine from. And that means he can make use of about 50 workers. So he's about 20 workers over right now. And in that kind of situation, you usually just want to toss him out and free up supply at that point. As for Morrow, how many bases does he have? Well, it looks like he's only got 1 fully mineable base, and that's one of the things. When you're a Terran, you have the meal advantage, but it also means that you wipe out your money much faster than your opponent does. And so he's only got 1 usable stack of resources here. And in fact, this stack was stolen by Wilko for a considerable amount. So you know, we'll see what happens, but Morrow still has a massive bank to work with. And let's not forget about the Terran army here, man. This is scary, and it is the immovable wall, and Wilko has not yet created nor come close to creating the unstoppable force. He's kind of more going with the little attacks on the sides here. They have been doing some decent job so far, but that one didn't do so well. We do have a Warp Prism sneaking in here behind enemy lines, and Wilko, what is he gonna do? Anything? Nothing? Nothing. Alright, so just throwing away a Warp Prism there. I don't know about that. I think you can always use a Warp Prism in your army, or for harassive purposes. One observer making its way in, just spotting the Terran army in the middle here. That is a scary, scary Terran army, man. And I like what Wilko's doing with this game. He's saying, okay, I'm not going to attack headlong into your army. I'm going to keep up with my side attacks. I know this is the last mining base you've got, and yeah, I think that's his strategy here, but he's got to blow through the planetary fortress. Will he have enough zealots to do it? Oh, this is going to be close. The zealots all surrounding the PF, but the PF is being repaired, and it's holding at 800, 700, 600, 400, 300, 200. All the SCVs have gone down, and the PF will fall. A big play right there by Wilko. And now he's trying to send additional reinforcements, but it does look like Morrow shuts that down with the position of his tanks. Wilko calling in for more backup, though. He isn't done with this yet, and he's actually killed off a lot of SCVs here. Look at the worker tab now, 70 to 18. But then again, once again, I want to reiterate to you guys, it probably will only take 18 SCVs to mine out this last mining base, so it doesn't really bother Morrow that he's losing workers. In a way, it almost helps him, and now he's gonna, oh man, he's gonna kill off all the Zealots and Immortals there. So killing off this base did not come without a cost, didn't come without a price there for the Protoss player, and now Wilko coming in with everything. This is it. This could be the final battle. He's trying to desperately warp in reinforcements. The Battle Hellions, though, holding on strong. And usually Zealots are a great option against Terran mech, but not when Hellbats are involved. And I guess it's so hard for me to make the official casting transition, you know, from calling them Battle Hellions to Hellbats, but there it is. That's what they are, man. And they just did a fantastic job at keeping and holding off the Zealots. And Morrow just maintaining a strong tank Hellbat count. He has eaten through most of his bank, though, and now he's at 431 to 4,400, or 4,500. So he's got a lot of excess gas, but not much money to work with. Both players are getting pretty down in resources here. It looks like Wilko about to mine out, and right now, Morrow is going to go for the throat. He's going to try to shut down the Protoss gateway infrastructure. He's going right into the heart of the Protoss land here, but a lot of Zealots getting in, and good charging from the Zealots, actually taking out quite a few tanks. And now, it's going to be interesting. What will Wilko do? Will he sacrifice the bases here at the top left? That will mean he loses almost all of his gateway infrastructure. And so I think the best option for right now for Wilko is to warp out. Yeah, there we go. Warp out as many units as he can from his exterior pylons, get as much as he can out on the field because he can't afford to reproduce the gateways, and try to counterattack and do as much return damage as he can. And it looks like just the Zealots are going to be able to scare the Terran player enough that he pulls his entire army back home to shut down the Zealots. And wow, I think he should have left some of his army on the offensive, but so far these Zealots are just a decoy, and they're working pretty well, pulling all of Morrow's army back home. And yeah, these Zealots just costing about 500 minerals, but that was a 500 mineral deposit on keeping your home safe. And, you know, if I could do that for my house, hell yeah, I'd pay $500 insurance for my home. And now it looks like Wilko going to be aggressive. Oh, but he runs through the mines and the EMPs. A disastrous attack right there for Wilko. And now it's getting down to the very, very late game. And when you're in a situation like this, every unit matters so much more. Every cost, every unit, every ability, an ounce of energy. And you guys can see now Wilko is dry. He has no more minerals to mine across the map. Maybe just a little bit more, actually. So he's still got these patches and these patches. So he's got a little bit more to go. Morrow is running out pretty thin as well. So we will see what happens, and I bet in one of these situations, Terran players always wish, man, I wish I could do something with all this extra gas. And the only thing that really makes sense is either make a lot of Ravens or maybe make a lot of Ghosts. But at this point, I think to be cost effective, that's what Morrow needs to do. He needs to start making more Ghosts or Ravens. He really doesn't want to make too many more units that are cost ineffective. And actually, he's making a lot of Widow Mines, and I like that a lot. Widow Mines are an extremely cost-effective unit. They're just a unit that constantly spawns a free explosion, if you will. So, not a bad idea. And look at this, Wilko is now adding in probes into his army. He doesn't want to throw away workers because, yeah, you can throw away workers to free up supply usually, but he doesn't really need to free up supply. He's at 103 under 200. He's got plenty of cap space here. And so he's just going to hope to use the probes to fight, but I don't know if you guys have ever seen probes against Widow Mines. It doesn't go out too well. Usually Widow Mines attack probes, not the other way around. So, I don't know, man. We'll see. But it does look like Morrow is now officially almost out of money. He's going to be able to get about 700 more out of these patches, and then he is dunzos. Protoss player is going to be able to get about, he's actually going to be able to get about maybe 1,500 to 2,000 more minerals, so that could be a huge turning point. Wilko needs to send these probes back home to mine. I'm so surprised that he is not, send about 30 back here to finish off the mineral stacks at home. And maybe he just doesn't realize that he's still got some money left over for mining, or maybe he thinks, I need these probes with my army to make them look a lot stronger than it actually is against this Terran army, because if these probes were taken out, I wouldn't have much of an army at all. But if that's the case, he should actually start to use the Sentry's new abilities. Sentry, they don't have a new ability, but their hallucination is free now, which means you don't need to research it, and you can make a bunch of hallucinated units. And here we go, man. Wilko's going to make an attack. He is going to go for the planetary fortress. Probes unite! And they are going to be able to take out that PF very quickly. SCVs don't know where to go. And they are going to all die. So Wilko with a probe-enhanced army. And the probes, what kind of upgrades do they have? 3 armor, 3 shields. So they're no joke, man. They're tanky probes. They're meaty probes. And Morrow still, I think, has a much stronger army, though. Look at how many tanks. He's outfitted them now with Widow Mines. Like I said before, a very cost-effective unit. And I think Wilko, I mean, he's still mining. That's the one advantage that Wilko's got, but his army is nowhere near as close in size as Morrow's is. So this is really going to get down to the wire. And I don't know, man. I don't think Wilko can go in here. He's going in, though, with everything he's got. All the probes just, they're not meaty enough. They just died almost instantaneously. And Morrow looks like he's got enough to end the game. Now Wilko is just, I don't think he's got enough to stay in it. He's down to 40 supply, trying to desperately bring out new units. He'll have to micro like he's never microed before, but how do you micro against tanks and Widow Mines? You can't without an observer, and I don't think he's got an observer. He does have one, actually, so he's got some form of detection. I just don't know where it is. He's bringing it back across the map, trying to bring it home to make the epic defense. And will his forces hold stalwart, or will he fall to the endless siege being laid down upon his base? Oh no, he's gonna walk into the minefield. Oh my goodness. Mercy and GG calls Wilko. Morrow, ladies and gentlemen, is your champion here in this epic 55-minute Heart of the Swarm broadcast. I hope you guys enjoyed the game, and I hope you guys enjoyed the casting. If you guys did, make sure to check me out. I'm at youtube.com/HDStarcraft, as well as Facebook and Twitter. But also check out Wilko. He's the one who sent in this replay, and an amazing game at that. Props off, my hat's off to you, Wilko. And I will see you guys in the next cast. Have a very great weekend. I'll probably have some more videos coming out probably sometime this weekend. So stay tuned for that. And this is HD StarCraft, signing out.